Hello, School Transportation Nation. It's Tony Corcoran. We're live here in Frisco, Texas at the TSD Conference. Things are going really well this week. We have a packed audience, sold out crowd. The trade show is going to be rolling this evening. We have some great interviews this week for you, and we're bringing all the industry together, talk about all things happening in special needs. This is the ultimate in special needs training. You guys can go to stnonline.com to look up all our updates on the event. We got lots of information and news, recaps on sessions. You guys definitely need to keep your fingers on the pulse of the industry. And we have a great episode this week brought to you by Transfinder, the leader in school bus routing software, by Ride, real innovation delivered with excellence, and by School Radio, your source for reliable radio communications. And while we're here, we've got a lineup of interviews coming up right after this. We've got some great conversations.
The Ride family of vehicles include the award-winning Achiever, Creator, and Dreamer battery electric school buses. The Creator is powered by STN's 2025 Best Green Technology Award winner, the Blade battery. With safety as a central focus, Ride school buses provide immediate benefits to our communities and our children. Visit ride.co to discover the future of student transportation, or email info.na@ride.co for further product detail.
Hello, School Transportation Nation. We're live here at the TSD Conference in Frisco, Texas. Ran into a really cool guest that I wanted to bring on the podcast today, talking all about technology and safety and communications. We've been hearing a lot about communications at the conference thus far this week, and it is a key element to running an operation in school transportation. And when an emergency arises in special needs, communication is vital. That it's quick. So I wanted to bring on Marty Savino from School Radio. Marty, good seeing you, man.
Hey, Tony, glad to be here. This is an opportunity that we've taken advantage of several times before, and we're really happy to be here this year as well.
Yeah, so Marty and I ran into each other at the Embassy Suites free breakfast. You know, everyone congregates at the Embassy Suites for an omelet and maybe some yogurt and a coffee. And it's always a nice feature here at the TSD Conference, and really enjoyed our conversation and thought, hey, man, Marty would be a great guest to bring on, discuss a little bit about communications. I know we were chatting a little bit about, you know, how does school radio fit into the market, and, you know, how does special needs play a role? So you want to just start off a little bit with who is School Radio for the audience that isn't really familiar with you guys?
Absolutely. School Radio is a nationwide coverage, instant communications radio company. So walkie-talkie style radios. So we're looking at radios that can communicate. You can literally be in Hawaii and talk to somebody in New Jersey on them instantly. We're also using uniquely a multi-carrier SIM in our radios. What that means is that our radios are able to look at Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, pick out the best signal no matter where you are, and lock onto that so to ensure you have the best connection possible. Additionally, we go to the extra mile here at School Radio. We're looking at radios that are FCC type accepted, PTCRB certified, and carrier certified. What that means for you is that the radios are always going to be on the networks. You're not going to get kicked off for whatever reason, and you're going to have the best connectivity possible.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, what would be the advantage of a radio versus a cell phone?
Great question. Surprisingly, a number of our schools still use cell phones. So the driver has to pull over, to answer the cell phone call, or something pops up, make a call. But the bus has to be stopped for that. So the comparison between cell phones and radio communications is if you're making a phone call, the average phone call is about 2 minutes to relay whatever information you're talking about at that point in time. A radio call is about 20 seconds for the exact same information. So you're looking at a huge time savings. Plus, you don't have to pull over to talk or to communicate. You can just push the button on the radio and get your message out. In an emergency situation, that is really critical. If there's something happening with a special needs student, for example, actually one of my customers in Michigan had an active shooter situation pop up last year, and the fact that they had radios were able to communicate instantly and get the message out, so they were able to act on that quickly without delay.
Yeah, that's interesting. In an emergency situation, I can imagine if a special needs child was having an incident and there needed to be some intervention because the driver or the aide isn't able to handle it, they need to escalate it to EMS. Now, what about the connectivity to non-district personnel? Is it everybody just in the ecosystem that is in the school, right? How do you, in an emergency situation, what's that look like? So they contact dispatch and then dispatch lets EMS know, hey, bus XYZ is at this location. We need you to get to them.
Right. They can do it that way. There's another option. We do have SOS buttons on our radios. So once that button is depressed, the school predetermines who's going to get that SOS, whether it goes out to everybody or just certain individuals or the base station. They get notified instantly that there's an issue, a red band appears on the screen, and they know exactly which bus is having that issue. So that SOS goes out instantly to whoever it's designated, and they can act on it immediately.
Yeah, I can imagine in an active shooter, that's quite a valuable little button.
Yeah, because then they'll look at your map and see where is that bus, because they've already identified which one it was. So they can see instantly where it is. They can direct officers from law enforcement to get exactly to go where it is at that point in time.
Yeah, I know. We had a keynote speaker earlier at the conference, Michelle Gay, who was a mother of a Sandy Hook victim and had created kind of a safe, it's called Safe and Sound Schools. And so she has a whole program around safety and education, and that is a big thing. So I can imagine, again, in these situations, you have tragedy that occurs, you really need police to respond quickly or emergency services. So yeah, super valuable. The difference in time can be critical.
It can. And instant communications is critical, like you pointed out, in these situations. So the faster you can get the information out to appropriate personnel, the faster the situation can be remedied or looked at.
So let's talk about the business side of it a little bit. Now, I understand you guys have a managed services business. What does that exactly mean for the customer?
We do. Managed services is a turnkey operation. So what that means is the school does not have to put up any money up front. They can just get radios delivered to them that work immediately. They pay a fixed monthly fee, so it's a 24-month agreement. What that means is you've got a fixed budget. You know for 2 years what exactly your expenses are going to be, and there's no surprises because if anything breaks or needs repair, that's covered. So you get unlimited airtime on group and private, as many groups as you need or channels, and all the maintenance is repaired at no cost to you. So let's say a bus driver, this actually happened, a bus driver dropped one of our radios out the window, a portable radio, ran over it with the bus.
Oops.
Yes. They sent us to pieces. We sent them a new radio at no charge. That's managed services. So at the end of the managed service agreement, at the end of the 24 months, rather, they can purchase the radios for $1 each, or they can re-up for another 24 months at the same price. So that is a couple options that are available there, or they can buy the radios outright and get the airtime.
Now, typically, I've seen that it's your local radio dealer in the area. They probably know very little about pupil transportation. Do you typically find that it's, John's Radio that's selling the handheld and a Motorola or other brands that are out there? And what's that look like in comparison to somebody that may have a name brand radio versus what you're offering?
Great question. So let's say you're looking at Motorola's, Kenwood's, Harris, Tate, all those radios are name brand radios. They all have a limited range on their coverage. If you've got a radio dealer that's got a repeater that you're renting from, or maybe you've got a repeater on site at the school, you've only got a range 10, 20, 30 miles tops for communications, and that under the best of circumstances. So with our radios, you don't have any range limit. You can drive wherever you want, and you're completely covered. So you're looking at, first of all, a coverage increase, a massive increase in coverage, rather, and also looking at a huge reduction in cost. Our radios are not nearly as expensive as one of the name brand radios, and they work far better than they do as well.
Now, what about like the local dealer that's selling those radios? Like that's kind of the old school transactional. And I feel like those guys are sort of aging out of the market, right? John's Radio, John, I've been buying him for 50 years. Well, John eventually is going to retire. What happens then?
Exactly. I've got several situations that happened exactly at the last show I was at last week. They said, our radio dealer is retiring. What do we do? Well, we can help you out. We're not going away. This is a company that's going to be around for years and years. So we can help you out with your transition. We've got an interoperability module that will allow you to transition from their radios to our radios gradually. You don't have to do it all at once. So maybe there's a cost situation that you're worried about. So if you use the interoperability module, you can do it gradually and be able to talk over both systems simultaneously.
What are typical anxiety or pain points with communications that you hear from people at conferences and trade shows? Because I'm imagining you're going to hear about that at the trade show while we're here in Dallas and Frisco.
Exactly. The biggest thing is the coverage area. They go out of service. You got a bus that goes here or there and they have no coverage. Sometimes there's a delay in response from the driver because they didn't hear you or whatever. So the coverage issue, of course, we can take care of that with the multi-carrier SIMs giving you the best coverage possible. We have the ability to prevent the driver from turning the radio off or for turning the volume down. That happens a lot. They'll turn the volume down and then they can't hear the radio. So we can prevent that by some adjustments before we ship the radios out. So they're always heard.
Very interesting. Well, before I let you go, is there any kind of last thoughts you wanted to leave with the audience in terms of, communications and safety, special needs while we're here at the TSD conference?
Well, come by our booth to people that are attending the show, and I can talk about the radios. One of the things we have advantage-wise is the radios are very small, so you can mount them almost anywhere in your vehicle.
How small? What are we talking? Like the size of my hand? Or are we talking? What are we?
Pretty much, yeah. About 4 inches wide by about 3 inches deep, about 1.5 inches tall. We've also got an antenna that does not require any holes to be drilled in the bus. So that means no leaks in your vehicle. The antenna is just a disc that holds the GPS and the wide area antenna in it. You just put it on the dash out of the line of sight. So very easy install and no worries about, again, leaks in your bus and your antenna getting knocked off when you drive through the bus wash or something like that. That happens a lot. So that's one of the complaints.
Those rogue tree branches that knock things. Yeah, I know. Those are always things when things are mounted to the outside of the vehicle.
Right. We're a traditional radio dealer as well. We full service. So we see a lot of antenna replacements in traditional radios. So we always carry a complete stock of them, replacement antennas, to adjust those situations as they pop up.
Wonderful. We're so glad you're here with us at the TSD Conference and STN Expo and all the events we do. So you guys always go check out Marty at his stand for school radio, and look forward to talking to you about your communication needs. So, and it's school-radio.com, right?
Correct. Booth 823 at this show, and look forward to seeing you. Stop by. Come on, grab a tchotchke.
Outstanding. All right, School Transportation Nation, it's Tony Corpin. We're here live in TSD Conference in Frisco, Texas. I have with me a friend of ours in the nation. He's been here before, the Godfather himself, Gregg Prettyman from FirstAlt. He's been in the alternative student transportation space for a while, so he's a frequent attendee here at our TSD Conference. I saw him walking down the aisle. He had a Texas A&M jersey on. He was getting hyped for our trade show tailgate experience. I got my Justin Herbert on, number 10, go Bolts, trying to pump it up. And I was like, Greg, are you a Texas A&M fan? He's like, I'm a Texas fan. He loves Texas, right?
That's right. God bless Texas.
That's it. Everything's big in Texas. We're going big with the barbecue feast tonight. Have some fun. The conference has been a buzz. We had some great sessions today. I know you're celebrating something big, so we picked a good night to do it, right? It's your birthday. Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. This is to the day our 3-year anniversary of launching FirstAlt, and we launched it here at STN.
Yeah, I remember you were on the keynote stage and everybody's mouth dropped like, what? Wait, double take. What did we do? So for the audience that doesn't know what FirstAlt is, why don't you fill them in on what you do and maybe share a little bit about the secret sauce?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I started the alternative transportation business back in 2009. So I've been doing it for a long time now.
That was a thing in 2009?
Yeah, well, it wasn't a thing yet, but we were getting started. We were introducing it to schools, really not accepted whatsoever when we first started. So it's really amazing to be here at the conference and see breakout sessions specifically designed around alternative transportation. So we've come a long way. But yeah, so FirstAlt is First Students Alternative Transportation Solution. And so I came over here about 3 years ago, and we thought we'd take our 15 years of experience in the past and build something from scratch within First Student. And one of our hypotheses or theories was that districts were going to want to work with one company from time to time that could provide both bus and alternative transportation. So that's been great and proven out to be true. And then we work with standalone districts as well, where all we're doing is providing alternative transportation for them.
Yeah, I know alternative transportation, as you said, was kind of, it's really been emerging more and more, and we're seeing more and more. I mean, I almost have to double take and pinch myself, because you walk around the TSD Conference trade show floor, there's like 8 vans. I mean, I can't remember when there were 0 vans.
Right.
And all of a sudden, van transport, or MPV, right? Because you can't do the 16 passenger anymore. Right. But there's also the differences between alternative student transportation and TNC, right? Like almost like an Uber or Lyft style. So there's some differences in the market, and there was a bit of gray area in terms of the standards that everyone was held to. And recently there was the NCST, get all the acronyms right, which is basically the National Congress on School Transportation. And they carved out some policy and some minimum standards for this category, which was long overdue, right? I mean, this thing was supposed to meet every 5 years. It had been 10. Right. I mean, a whole new market has emerged. So it was about time. So I know there's been a lot of talk. You were part of that conversation, and you had some input in that process. You want to talk a little bit about where that is gone and what it's meant to you guys at FirstAlt?
Yeah, it was great to see that get started and be a part of that committee and have input. I do think there just needs to be one standard, right? So I think sometimes there's a misnomer that alternative transportation drivers need to have a different set of standards. And with FirstAlt, and I think industry-wide, whether that driver shows up, the type of vehicle the driver's in shouldn't matter with regards to the training the driver's received. So with FirstAlt, for example, the same training a bus driver goes through with dealing with special needs students, how to handle behavior that might be escalating, how to de-escalate that behavior, it's the same across the board. So I think today we had a session even talking about alternative student transportation standards. Sometimes I think we're overcomplicate it, and it really just should be, there should be no difference for a driver, regardless of the vehicle type.
What are the typical questions you find that people are coming up to you and asking you specifically about alternative transportation, where there's like maybe some myths out there?
Yeah, I think the vetting of the drivers is one of the biggest questions we get from parents and from school districts. And so I think the myth is that we have to lower the standards, or that districts expect there to be a lesser standard for alternative drivers. And so I think that's concerning to them. And you'll see sometimes even legislation maybe getting proposed to lower those standards. So I think it comforts them a lot if we're like, look, whether it's a bus or an alternative vehicle, the driver should have the same vetting standards. So whether you run a bus in-house, all of your buses, or whether you contract out, your alternative driver should be held to the exact same standard.
Yeah, I mean, there's many regulations out there that people have to follow. And I think since you've seen it since 2009, I mean, what are things you see in the market from a regulatory standpoint that clients should be asking of their alternative student transportation provider? What they should be saying, hey, look, I need this. This is like a deal breaker. If you don't have this, we can't use you.
Right. I'd say the biggest one is the pre-service drug and alcohol testing and the whole program. That's a big thing with DOT and with the CDL driver's license on the bus side. And so we do see sometimes districts maybe letting that slide or thinking, oh, it can't apply to alternative transportation, where really it should apply to those same drivers. So to me, that's the biggest one. And it hasn't been enforced or regulated yet. So it's really up to the districts to make sure that it's complied with.
Now, I know you have invested a lot also in training your drivers, and you had launched in previous year, some programs around that. You want to talk to that? What kind of training do your drivers go through?
Yeah. So again, like I say, the same as a bus driver, but since First Student's located in Cincinnati, we teamed up with the Cincinnati University Hospital and their children's unit and several other educational institutions, and put together training. And really what it's around is how the rage cycle. And as drivers see students' behavior escalating, how to help them de-escalate it, which cues to look for, and really how to work with those students. Because once you're up and trained on how to drive a bus or drive the vehicle, what's really important then is how do you interact with the students who are on that vehicle?
Now, when customers come to you and they engage you for service opportunities, typically they're like, hey, I've been running my special needs routes myself for a long time, but maybe I have a driver shortage, or I'm really under a budgetary crunch and I want higher vehicle utilization. Is that what you typically see in the marketplace, or is it more of a McKinney-Vento thing, or is there a blend?
Yeah, I think it's both. So on the McKinney-Vento side, as districts know, you may start with, it kind of resets in the summer, right? And the students have to reapply for McKinney-Vento status. So you might start the year with only 20 students and end the year with 200 students. And so when you're running that in-house, you've got to ramp up your physical vehicles, you got to ramp up hiring drivers. And then the next fall, that number drops all the way back to like 20 again. And so where alternative can really help is we can help scale and have the districts only pay for what they're going to use. So it's a huge help in the McKinney-Vento. On special needs, there's districts that just have students that are hard to even serve. They're 20 miles outside the district, and they might be running 5 buses with 2 or 3 students. And then that's it. And then they're short on drivers. And so when they utilize the alternative for those routes, they can free up those drivers and that capacity for other routes.
Now, you talked, obviously, First Student being your parent.
Yeah.
That is the largest school bus contractor in North America, largest fleet in North America, owned by one individual group.
Right.
And there's probably some great economies of scale that you're getting out of that and partnerships. And I saw recently you partnered with Samsara, and obviously that was very public. They're on the New York Stock Exchange, ringing the bell. The bus is out there. What does that mean for FirstAlt?
Yeah, it's been a great partnership. So we've been able to bring those Samsara cameras into all of our alt vehicles. So we have over 75% of our fleet right now, which has got to be the highest in the industry, with the front, forward, and backward facing cameras. And what's really interesting, the exact same camera that goes in the front of the bus is the exact camera we're using in the alternative vehicles. So we really get that economies of scale and the quality. So that has been a game changer. As you know, when I first started, cameras weren't even, considered. And then even as early as like 3 or 4 years ago, if you did have a camera in a car, it had like an SD card in the camera. And if there was an incident or accident, you had to track down the driver, pull the card out. Maybe the card was full, didn't have any more memory space. It was just very inefficient. But the buses have kind of always had that in the cloud, that it would upload as soon as they pulled into the bus yard. So with Samsara, we now have that same thing where it's live in the cloud as it's happening.
Yeah, transparency, security for everyone in the vehicle.
Yes.
I'm sure there can be vehicular accidents that occur on the road, and you want to have a digital record of how it all went down.
Yeah, one of the cooler things too is with AI right now. So Samsara's cameras will detect if a driver picks their cell phone up to look at it, and it will put out a series of beeps. So the driver will pick up their phone, and it gives them like a beep, beep. And it's just kind of reminding them, hey, you need to put your phone down. We can also track distracted drivers with the AI. So it's really kind of interesting if they yawn, and you can set the parameters okay, they can yawn once every 30 minutes, but if they yawn, let's say 10 times in 5 minutes, the alert goes off, said, hey, maybe you need to take a break or something. So the AI part with Samsara has been really interesting, and we've seen it make a huge change in the safety of our drivers and really their habits.
Do you see a use case for reviewing student behavior with those systems, or is it really more driver facing?
Oh, no, it's both. Yep. So districts will call in. A parent reported that another student hit the student riding in the back seat with them, anything like that. So I think it's both for the protection of both the student and the drivers. And so I would say it's used the majority of the time to check on the student behavior. And then from time to time, we use it to help, with the districts with the driver behavior.
So just to clarify, because, if there are cameras in these vehicles, that means you own the vehicles, correct? Or is it a blend of using technology to access fleets in multiple cities? What's that look like in terms of fleet utilization?
Yeah, on the alternative side, we don't own the vehicles, but we own access to all those cameras. So we still install the cameras. So we can pull up the Samsara dashboard, see every camera, every vehicle across the country. We actually have a national view of that. You can zoom in into one particular car. You can turn the camera on and look in there live if you need to, if there's an incident happening. And so although we don't own the vehicles, they have to comply with our camera policy and make sure they do have the camera in the vehicle.
Yeah, to be in your network.
That's
correct?
Right. And then they're just part of our network. It's kind of really an all-star team of drivers you're putting together across the country. And There are still some districts who choose not to have cameras in their vehicles, and there's some states that might have laws against that. But we find the majority of districts do want them installed, and it's worth the extra cost and time to do that.
Wonderful. Well, I really appreciate you dropping into the podcast and sharing your thoughts. Happy birthday to FirstAlt on the 3-year anniversary here. This is really great. Exciting to celebrate with us here at the TSD Conference. And we keep getting bigger. It's record attendance here for us again this year. Trade show has expanded as well. So we're looking for a really fun time, and we're glad you're here with us. Yeah,
thank you. I think I've been to every show you've ever had here at TSD in the same exact hotel, same city. And like you said, it's just getting larger and larger. So actually kind of nice to have our launch date associated with the TSD show. So I appreciate it.
All right, School Transportation Nation, we are live at the TSD Conference in Frisco, Texas, suburb of Dallas. We survived the travel apocalypse, I think. We're here. We made it. Here with John Daniels, VP of Sales, or VP of Marketing. Sorry, John, at Transfinder. See, I always think sales and marketing all together, but I see you so much. We were just in Grand Rapids together.
Just in Grand Rapids, yes.
Yeah, so welcome. I'm glad you made it all the way from Grand Rapids. Did you fly direct?
I came right from Grand Rapids right here. Worked a little bit here at the hotel, and now we're getting going here for Transportation Summit for Disabilities.
Nice, yeah. And also Mr. Logan from Garland. Welcome. I'm glad you made it out. So tell me a little bit about you. Tell me about Garland. I heard you're supplying the vehicle for the ride-along with Transfinder today. And what's happening?
We are. Thanks for the invitation to be here. This is a great conference, and we're happy to participate. Great chance to network with our peers and learn about new products on the trade show floor. And yes, indeed, we're providing a bus this afternoon for the Transfinder ride along, so we're happy to do that. So on that note, thanks for having me. But I'm Tim Logan, Director of Transportation for Garland Independent School District. We are 18 miles northeast of the city of Dallas and run about 370 buses and also over 200 white fleet as support vehicles. 52,000 students, 64 schools. Happy to be here.
Wonderful. So in terms of Garland in Texas, tell me a little more about your special needs student population, since this is the conference on transporting students with disabilities and special needs.
Absolutely. Great question. Out of 52,000 students, we have several thousand that are in the SPED program, and about 1,000 are transported every day on 82 of our SPED buses that, of course, have the driver and also what now is called the special education assistant, providing professional care services for each of those. So about 1,000 riders every day.
Now, is it strictly school buses you're using? Are you using multiple modalities?
At this point, the majority is on our yellow fleet, yes.
Okay. And are you utilizing type A, or are you using larger vehicles? What's your vehicle utilization?
Our entire fleet of 370 buses are type C conventionals.
Okay, so you're using it for full use.
Yes.
Okay, got it. And then talk to me about how you're using technology. I know you're partnered with Transfinder. How are you leveraging their suite of products as the Transfinder evangelist here? You've got a deep tech stack on these vehicles.
Absolutely, we do. We were one of the early pioneers in North Texas to champion this product. We absolutely love it. We kind of call it the castle, right? That has doors that we're still understanding what that software can do for us. And we love it. And we try to maximize that as much as we can. It certainly made us more efficient. It has greatly promoted on our end, the StopFinder app and how we've executed it. All of the Transfinder products, whether it is bulletin boards for the community, it is t-shirts, it's QR codes, and it's been very well received from when we kicked off 3 years ago. So we love it. It's made us more efficient. We're learning the areas. And I have to tell you, from starting out, there's very little resistance that we encountered from drivers and also parents. And now they've become dependent on it, where it is a way that we just run our business for the community and the district, our department, and also our riders.
Now, you talked about the parents a little bit there. You want to kind of expand on what that looks like for you. Obviously, you're using a mobile app, I assume, to communicate with parents?
We are. We push out the StopFinder app. It is very well received. Over 65% of students involved have a parent or a guardian that are tracking our buses on StopFinder. And the geofence, they absolutely love it, to the point if there's an internet problem, not necessarily Transfinder, like people get upset because they can't track their littles, especially, that popular population that we're talking about, TSD right now, because they are very concerned where that student is. And it's just been a blessing to have that type of product to be able to communicate with the public.
That's interesting. John, have you seen app usage with parent communications really spike at Transfinder?
Yes, we're at all-time highs for parent communications and our geo tracking in the StopFinder app. And when you combine that with the Wayfinder app, it's all real time. So it allows the parents to really see, if the school district wants, where that bus is, where that student is, and when they get on and off that bus, which is critically important. And then, Tim, I have a question for you. Have you come across situations where the IEP information being in Wayfinder has come in handy and valuable?
It's absolutely critical, and it helps our drivers because in Wayfinder, we're able to put student specifics, wheelchair, no wheelchair. Are they allowed to be left alone? Do they have a specific guardian or parent that needs to receive them? Any medical conditions, any special requirements, things like that. It's been fabulous and well embraced by our drivers.
And then how's it being embraced by parents too, in terms of like StopFinder? What does that actual communication look like? What are they seeing?
So they're actually, of course, they have it on their phone that we've pushed out. They, again, have embraced it well. And they're actually, the way we have it set up, seeing the geofence when it enters that area, much like an Uber, they can see where the bus is, how far away, is it running late, is it running early, is it merged with another route? And we've actually supplied our campuses, all 68 of our schools, with a custom dashboard where they can track it as well. So that's in Viewfinder, but they have the tools to observe it as well.
And then have you noticed that it's solved any particular challenges before you had outfitted using the app in terms of communication? Because you've been using it for a while, but maybe the audience, some of them aren't using this parent communication tool. What are kind of the benefits that you've experienced by integrating with this?
Right. So it's a reduction in communication and incoming phone calls, first of all, to our dispatch center. So we were receiving hundreds of calls a day, transporting 14,000 students and 1,000, TSD type students. And now they can just simply look at the app if they want to know what's going on.
Yeah. And talk a little bit more about Wayfinder. How is that product helpful for you to leverage?
Mm-hmm. It's a great feature. It is, we have notes and files, HP's medical information, notes on who can receive. Our kindergartners, must be received by a parent always, no matter what is flagged in their individual health plans and things like that. So that population, as well as just in Gen Ed, the parents are very interested in where their littles are.
Interesting. John, you want to explain Wayfinder a little bit for the audience, just so they understand kind of what the offering is?
Yeah, so Wayfinder works in real time with Route Finder Plus and the GPS location of the bus. So the drivers are able to see route changes. Asset reallocation is able to take place. School districts have issues with buses in the morning. Sometimes a bus doesn't. Do your buses always start, Tim?
No.
So they can easily change the asset and the route and the driver information. The drivers get all that information on their tablet. We now offer real-time traffic updates. So maybe there's a traffic incident, an accident on a specific route. The drivers can hit that there's a traffic accident or some kind of construction or something. It shows up on the map, not just for them, but it goes back into Plus and disperses to all the routes that are traveling on that road.
That is correct.
So that is, now that you're not hearing on the radio, oh my God, there's a traffic accident on such and such street. It's right up there in Wayfinder for all the drivers to see. We were talking about the drivers having the IEP information. They have real-time updates if a route changes. If there is a delay taking place, it shows up in Plus, and it also shows up for the parent app because we're leveraging the real-time GPS data.
Now, Tim, do you see any examples maybe you could share on how that really helps your drivers?
It does. It makes us work more efficient. and smarter. It gives us real-time information where we are able to reroute and not have to tie up a radio with 370 buses that are out rolling, plus field trips and coaches and things like that. We're 94 square miles. We drive 22,000 miles a day just for route. So we are the largest school district in North Texas other than Dallas ISD. And it just has made us more efficient and even learned the area where we have not gone down that street, but it is, suggested a alternate route that makes sense and gets us there on time, because it's all about getting the students on time, right? For instructional time. That's my one goal, to get them to school.
Sure. And now, John, there's another solution called Viewfinder. You want to explain what that is a little bit?
Viewfinder is basically view access for anyone that's maybe in administration, a principal, school secretary, anybody that needs to be in the know of where the bus is located, the route details. Maybe there's an emergency and the EMS folks need information. They can look at Viewfinder at the school or at some other location. It really exposes everything that is in RouteFinder Plus, the core of the system, the routing solution database, but you can't change routes.
Sure. Tim, are you using Viewfinder?
We are, and he is totally correct. It is just to view, not edit, right? But all of our 68 schools, we've given a custom dashboard for Viewfinder. They can check on a bus, see if it's merged, see if it's running late.
In the back?
No,
oh, goodness.
No, there's no more phone calls of where is this bus, or how far away is it? No, just look on Viewfinder and it will tell you. And each of our campuses has 3 or 4 people that have access to this, great branch of the system called Viewfinder, and they can see what's going on or what equipment is needed. And it has eliminated, Tony, hundreds of phone calls that came through our dispatch center or to our supervisors who might be driving or very busy working other emergencies of just where's the bus. And it's fabulous.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think having other stakeholders involved in the communication where you don't have to get on the phone or dispatch out to 68 schools. That's what you said?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That is a lot of schools to be communicating
Absolutely.
with. And there's a lot of people there. Every principal wants to know, hey, where's the bus? It's interesting to see that. Have you seen from their perspective, is there much hand holding to get that up and running? Is there a user, they're like, oh, hey, now that you have Viewfinder, how do I use that? Have you kind of got them acclimated to now train them, right?
Correct. It's all in the training and the startup, right? Building the foundation of what's going to be successful. And the entire department and district and the community have embraced it. But those 68 schools, absolutely, they love having the information versus having to call in. They have real-time view of what's happening. And in addition to eliminating all those phone calls, it's just empowered them to have the information. And even if a parent calls in on StopFinder, the first thing we say is, happy to help. Have you downloaded our app? Right? Let me send you a link to download our app, or look around for the QR codes in your school. They're in the front door of all the schools. Help us make it easier for you.
Yeah, that's great. Well, since we're here at the TSD conference, I'm sure you've looked at the agenda. There's probably some sessions that you want to jump into. Is there anything particular education-wise you're looking forward to seeing? Any speaker particularly?
I'm really interested in the trade show floor this year.
Oh, exciting.
Because this is one of my first visits to TSD, where I've gone to NAPT and I was in Scottsdale last month, seeing great things. But I really want to see, since we have such a high population that we transport, I want to see what's new and what's out there. And I spend a lot of time on the trade floor to find new information.
That's great. Yeah, there's so many solutions this year at the TSD conference and so many different providers. It's actually the largest trade show we've ever done. We had so much demand. We actually had to expand the trade show floor of solution providers. So there's 2 days of that. So you guys will take full advantage of that. John, what are other things that you're doing here at the TSD conference this week?
Well, certainly we have the ride along, which is taking place this evening in the technology showplace. And then certainly on the trade show floor, we have a lunch and learn with one of the folks from Garland Garland ISD on it, as well as a couple of other customers that you're going to be helping us host.
I will, yes.
So we're looking forward to that, where we're talking about technology in general, and how technology is assisting folks transporting students with special needs and adaptive needs. We're happy to show off some great new things specific to Wayfinder, for example, where at the a lot of school districts at the end of the day have students that were maybe in detention, or they stayed out longer for at school for band or theater or whatever it happens to be. Maybe it was a delay for special needs student because there was something taking place in a school and they got delayed. That late bus is something that districts challenge with. How do you handle this late bus? Because it's not a route that's built already. Well, now you can have the students scan on with their ID card into Wayfinder. The driver can hit route, and it optimizes a route following the rules that are set up in Route Finder Plus. So if the student is right-hand approach and pick up and drop off, it'll make certain the bus follows that appropriate path, and it builds an optimized route on the spot for all those students for that late bus. Driver can save it, go on his way, their way, saves in Route Finder Plus, so that that's an existing route. All the parents who have Stop Finder now have the information of their child's drop-off time, and it's like it was already pre-built.
That's a great ad. And I will admit, I'm a huge ambassador and zealot for Transfinder. Every time we've ever called with the problem, they have come up with the solve or said, we're working on that. You're the third person to tell us. And within a couple of weeks, the problem is resolved, right? Because everyone has usually the same problems. And while we talk about these issues every day because it's so common to us, what we learn is the people that come to visit us on property and understand, how do we do it? Like, it's new to them. You just don't know what you don't know. And once they actually get to see it and touch it and feel it and watch it in action, they're usually sold as well. I don't think there's anyone, probably 10 different school districts, whether it's a Zoom call from Bellevue, Washington, or as local as Fort Worth, where they sent 4 people over, that haven't fallen in love with the product. And I'm familiar with, other products out there as well, as are the other directors we meet each month in North Texas. And, I'm an unpaid ambassador, but I love the product and what's happening this entire weekend also for these kiddos.
Well, wonderful. We're so glad you made it to the conference.
Absolutely.
And welcome. Let me be the first to welcome you.
Thank you.
And we hope you partake of all the great content as well as the trade show, since you're looking forward to that as a top item on your list. So enjoy yourself. Thank you for being here and sharing a little bit about what Garland's up to.
Absolutely. The last thing I'll say is it's great to be here. Come visit us sometime, because while we're a large district, what you'll find is interesting about us is instead of multiple hubs and depots, we're all in one location. So we have 450 people and all of those vehicles parked in one spot versus spread out across the city. So it doesn't divide the family. Always something fun happening. So Tony, you're welcome to come visit and see it firsthand, or any of your staff.
Love that. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely.
And John, we appreciate you being here as well with the Transfinder family. I'm sure you've got an army of people to help entertain and delight our audience.
That we do. And we also love supporting the podcast nation out there. And we appreciate all the great commentary that happens from that.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. A special thanks to all our guests for joining us on the episode this week. We appreciate all our sponsors, Transfinder, Ride, and School Radio. Don't forget, you can go to STN Online for all the latest news and information on the school transportation nation. Catch up on all the latest events. You can listen to this pod on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to Pods Nation. We love you. We'll see you in just a few days for more live coverage of the TSD Conference.